Sub $200 gaming PCs, are they possible to build? Yes, of course they are. Is it easy though? Well, not necessarily. It'll definitely take some time and effort, and that's what I did with today's video. You can spend as little as possible and get something like this. And yes, I know, it looks like I stole it from your grandma, but don't let the looks fool you. This computer can still play just about every game that's out right now. In esports titles, you reach 100 plus FPS. In a AAA titles, you're right around the 60 FPS mark. But for no more than 200 bucks, you really can't complain. Now, it all started with a good deal on Facebook Marketplace, so let me show you picking that up. I'm on my way to go get a deal that I found earlier today. It was a computer listed at $100, and in the description they said or best offer. So I sent in 75 bucks and they accepted. In my opinion, I think it's worth the $75 and it should be a pretty solid deal. Walking in the apartment. Computer secured. Okay, I just made it home. Let's see if this thing even works. Okay, I hear it at least turning on. Well, that didn't go to plan. At first it was plugged into the motherboard because the graphics card only took HDMI, but now I got an HDMI cord, it's hooked up to the graphics card. Let's go again. So in its current state, it's not even working, and if it was working, it wouldn't just run games as it is. By the end of the video though, this computer will look completely different, and it will be able to play games like a beast. Well, if I get it fixed. We'll get to all that after a word from our sponsor. Super CDK is running their back to school sale, and it's perfect if you just built a new PC or you happen to flip computers as well. Instead of dropping $200 on a Windows key from Microsoft, visit Super CDK down below and be sure to use the discount code SPLA to get 25% off. You can get Windows 11 Pro for $22 after the discount. You can get Windows 10 Pro for $17. The discount code also saves you money on other Microsoft Office products such as Office 2019. Once you're ready to check out, they accept different forms of payment. Once you get the key, activating it is so simple. Head to your orders page on Super CDK, click Get Key, then just copy and paste it into your window activation settings, and bam, no more watermark, and you saved yourself 200 bucks. Thank you Super CDK for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out their back to school sale with the links in the description. Got some great news, it's working. All I had to do was just reseat the RAM sticks. Now you might be curious as to what my $75 actually got me. The main reason I bought this is because it's the easiest Office PC to case swap, basically make it look better and upgrade it. In its base configuration, it's rocking a quad-core Intel i7-4790. That CPU was released back in 2014 with a base clock speed of 3.6 gigahertz, and luckily it has hyper-threading. The CPU is paired with 12 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive. The RAM configuration is pretty odd. We have two 2 gigabyte sticks and two 4 gigabyte sticks. If you want to see it with 16 gigabytes of RAM, then stick around towards the end of the video. This PC actually came with a graphics card. It's nothing crazy, it's the GTX 745. It's mainly just to display an image, but we'll see if it can play any games. Normally in these basic office computers, the power supplies are like complete but this one isn't. We've got 460 watts and PCIe connectors, which will help a ton when we upgrade this PC later in the video. Okay, I'm just getting everything set up on this computer, and Jesus, it has been loading for so long. That hard drive is trying its hardest. Oh look, there we go. Before we do any upgrades, this thing desperately needs a cleaning. There was dust built up everywhere in the CPU cooler, the rear fan, and even on the bottom of the case. It's just like a nice thick layer of dust. I took it outside and gave it a good blowout with my electric air duster, and it was like the Dust Bowl all over again. After letting the dust settle for 6 years, I took the PC back inside and got to work. The very first thing I'm adding to this computer is an SSD. I'm using a simple 128 gigabyte SATA SSD just to load Windows on. I paid $14 for mine. You can easily find one for around 20 bucks. I'm still keeping the hard drive in there. They're great for mass storage, but running the operating system, you could not pay me enough to use it with just the hard drive. After that, I got to work on removing the CPU cooler. Once I finally got it off, the thermal paste was so crusty, it was just flaking and breaking into pieces. It definitely needed a clean. I cleaned off all the crustiness and applied some fresh Arctic MX6. I just finished installing the SSD. I got Windows installed. This thing is snappy. I can open Microsoft Edge and File Explorer all at the same time and close them almost instantly. Definitely worth the upgrade. After that little upgrade, I can finally use the computer and not get an aneurysm. Definitely runs smoother, but can it play games in its base configuration? Well, yeah, but don't have any expectations. After updating the PC for a while, it was at least running smoothly as I mentioned earlier, but gaming, not so much. Our GPU is the GTX 745. I haven't mentioned the specs yet, but luckily we got the model with 4 GB of memory. However, it's quite old and its performance is comparable to cards like the GTX 650 and the Radeon HD 5830. Some of you watching probably have never even heard of those graphics cards. I was also curious about the hard drive's health, so I decided to run a check on it with Crystal Disk Info. Surprisingly, it was in good health with about 2,400 days of power on time. I'm not sure if that's a lot in terms of hard drive life, but maybe you can let me know in the comments. But as far as gaming goes, it's bad. Okay, so it's not like terrible. You can play games like good old Minecraft. I was playing the Java edition with fancy graphics in a render distance of 7 chunks. And we were well above 60 FPS and we were able to do Minecraft things. The only issue was that I couldn't get it to go full screen. For some reason, it wouldn't apply the settings or even give me the option to like change the resolution to full screen. Since it didn't have a problem running Minecraft, I just assumed it would run Valorant, and boy, was I wrong. This thing was spazzing out on me. Even after that failed attempt, I tried another game. Of course, we had to see if this $75 PC could play Fortnite. It at least loaded in and didn't start glitching on me, but then I changed the settings around and it decided to crap out and give me a freaking seizure. But it's weird because the computer was able to fully run a time spy benchmark with no issues. Sure, it was laggy and the score was low, but it was better than the other results we got. Anyways, let's upgrade this thing and get some real performance. First and most important upgrade is the graphics card. That display adapter has to go. If you remember, our power supply has PCIe cables, which means we can easily just slot in another graphics card. I'm going to use this GTX 1660 Super. It's an Asus TUF dual fan model that only requires one 8-pin PCIe connector with a total power draw of 125 watts. We can assume the PCIe slot on the motherboard will provide at least 50 watts of power, so that leaves 70 watts for the power supply to provide. This should run with no issues. I bought this GTX 1660 on eBay and paid $86. You can easily find one of these for under $100. Now, unfortunately, the PCIe connectors on our power supply are only 6-pin, so I had to buy an adapter. I spent about $10 on a double 6-pin to single 8-pin adapter, and as I said, this should run with no issues. Let's see if it actually works, and now we can finally use a DisplayPort cable. Okay, fans are at least spinning. Let's go, it's working. And the adapter's not smoking up. The last upgrade I did was to the RAM. I just swapped out all the sticks and I added this 2x8GB kit of DDR3, bringing the total up to 16 gigs. If your system didn't come with 16GB of RAM already, you can find it for pretty cheap, and since it is DDR3, some people just give it away. With those upgrades, we have our completed sub $200 gaming PC. My total cost was $197.86, right under that $200 mark. I have like $3, maybe I'll go to McDonald's. With this setup, it's fully capable of 1080p gaming, and I'll show you those benchmarks in just a minute, but if you want to build something similar, here's a couple tips. First, do not spend any more than I did in this video. Use it as a guide to set your budget. For instance, set a budget for $75 for the computer and $100 for the graphics card, and then $25 for anything else. Like I had to buy an SSD and also upgrade the RAM. For the computer, look for office PCs like this one, and you want one with at least an i7. You can swing one with an i5, but I just wouldn't. Try to get an i7, something with like 16GB of RAM, and an SSD would be awesome, but a hard drive also works for mass storage like I said. You can either go 4th gen i7, or you can even find other office PCs that are cheaper, and they have like 6th gen i7s, but the reason I went with this one is because it is so easy to case swap and upgrade, like the power supply, put it in a better case, throw in a stronger graphics card, etc. So if you do plan to upgrade to a better case, I would look for a Dell XPS. All the parts I used in this video will be linked down below for you to check them out, as well as the tools I used to like assemble the PC and clean it up, like my electric air duster. But now let me show you the performance of this computer with a new graphics card and 16GB of RAM. With the upgrades, we were finally able to play some Fortnite without suffering any major brain damage. Just don't mind the messed up MSI Afterburner overlay. I forgot to change the names. I played at 1080p with 100% 3D res scale, far view distance, and everything else was on low. I died the first time around like a bot, so I fixed fixed the MSI afterburner settings and loaded in again for the second time. Performed pretty well, especially compared to the results that we had before. We averaged 125 FPS with a 1% low of 50. Next up is Minecraft. This time I felt like a complete idiot because I honestly forgot the full screen setting is in a different spot than I was looking. I enabled it and bumped the render distance up to 12 chunks. We were still averaging slightly more frames than before, which is awesome, and we were in full screen. In Valorant, I didn't get a Caesar this time. Now I'm pretty dog dookie at this game, but we were able to play at 1080p with high settings, averaging 189 FPS. It was pretty smooth. For a more demanding game like Warzone, you'll still be good thanks to the extra RAM and upgraded GPU. I played at native 1080p with mixed settings. I turned on AMD FSR 3.0 and had all the shadow and lighting options either off or on low. And then I just kept everything else on normal. With those settings, I was able to stay above 60 FPS with an average of 86. Unfortunately though, they took out solos, so I was getting wrecked in solo duos. Next up, for a good old AAA title, I ran the in-game benchmark in Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p with the medium preset. For some reason, the GPU was showing 0 for the usage and temp, but the game ran better than I expected, averaging 77 FPS. I reran the Time Spy benchmark and the first score we got was pretty low, but with the upgrades, we saw a huge 152% increase. Yeah, these upgrades were definitely worth it. I won't lie, it performs pretty well, not completely terrible, and I was actually surprised with the performance, especially in Cyberpunk. I was barely expecting above 60 frames. As I've mentioned multiple times throughout this video, this is super easy to case swap, and the plan was to do it in this video. Unfortunately, I just can't. I'm super short on time and I'm literally packing everything up right now because I'm moving across state in 2 days. If you would like to see a video where I show you how to case swap it and upgrade it even further, then comment down below. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe if you loved it, turn on bell notifications so you don't miss the next time I upload. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.